Hi, this is Mark. A woman said on YouTube, "I'm irreplaceable at home." She said, "I'm replaceable at work. I'm irreplaceable at home." So this sounds rather traditional, but in the past, everybody was a farmer. Almost everybody was a farmer, unless you're rich. You were a farmer, or you were a gardener, or maybe you were a carpenter like Joseph. And I don't mean that long ago, really. Before subdivisions and that type of stuff, before uh, manufactured food. Sound like how they live in Africa. The woman would get pregnant and have children. I mean, this is considered horrible today. I mean, a woman getting pregnant, oh no, do you want the child? And a Christian wants the child, A Christian doesn't need to use condoms and probably doesn't use condoms when he's having sex with his wife. And a woman doesn't use diaphragms. They want the children, Might be inconvenient at some time, might be strapping at some time financially, but they want the children. So, a woman, what a woman does nowadays is she'll say, okay, I want a boyfriend, and then I want to have sex with a boyfriend, and then I don't want to have children. Now, I'll wait. And the woman and the boyfriend break up, the boyfriend breaks it off, or the woman breaks it off. From what I've heard nowadays, it's usually the woman who breaks it off and says, I can't stand him, or whatever. And then you get another boyfriend, and by the time you're 65, you're retired, sitting at home, no children, no significant other. You go out to the bars, and everybody that's interested in you has wrinkles and a lot of relationships, they call, a lot of sex under their belt from multiple sources. But I will say, so women will get to the point where they say, well, I wanted a family. And you say, well, you want a family at 65? Or you want a family at 55? It's fine. I'm getting married late. My astrology, my astrology that has been like computer checked, said I'd have a very late marriage, and but it did say I'd have a marriage. And the astrology I've looked at myself, as far as Vedic astrology and checking when I get married, it's supposed to be very late. And I think a lot of people consider me radical. I don't think people know how to take me. The ones that see me, which might not be very many people, I think consider me radical, and I think they consider, and I think when they hear me, sometimes they consider me conservative, and I'm very conservative. But it's not only the woman that needs to be at home; it's the man that needs to be at home. Because what it used to be is people worked on farms, and the woman would take care of the children, take care of the house, and the man would work in the field. Because men are stronger than women on the whole. I know several women, my Thai body workers, several women that are stronger probably physically than I am, okay? But women are supposed to have children. In the old days, before we got the mind warp on people, before they got this propaganda, women wanted to have children. They thought there was a failure if they didn't have children. They almost thought that they were failures if they didn't have children, and that was the way society considered them. You know, who's going to be your progeny? Who's going to be the future of your line? So when we're supposed to have children, we're supposed to be pregnant. I mean, not necessarily all the time, of course. You look at Jacob and Rachel and Leah, they weren't pregnant all the time. Rachel and Leah weren't pregnant all the time. But the idea was the man wasn't pregnant and could work. That's where this traditional roles came from. It just was practicality. A man and a woman had sex. They'd have a child. The man and woman had sex again. They'd have another child, and so on. So, I mean, a woman cannot really be replaced at home. My mother stayed home with us until we were old enough, and then she went out to work. She worked when we were at school. She even worked in the school library, and I just walked in one time, walked across the school library because it was a shortcut to my classes, and there was my mother. And she worked at a clothing store, and she worked after she got divorced. And, you know, the idea is you marry a Christian, you're not getting divorced if you marry a Christian. And some non-Christians don't get divorced too. But you know what you're doing when you're a Christian and you get married. It might be 36, it might be 46, it might be 56, but you know what you're doing. And you marry the right person, which should be another Christian that God is leading you to. But men are irreplaceable at home. Men who are career men, that's really not biblical. The Bible says a man who does not take care of his own household is worse than an unbeliever, has denied the faith, and is worse than an unbeliever. A man who does not take care of his own household has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. So, if you want to be the CEO of a company, do you have time for that in your family? You know, if you don't have any children, fine. But the natural course of things is when people have sex, and when people fall in love, they get married. And when people get married, they have sex. And when people have sex, they have children. That's the natural process of things. So you should be expecting money out for your children because that's part of it, but only part of it. A woman shouldn't be left alone with her children, which is very, very, very common today. They used to criticize blacks for, there was a woman that I put up on YouTube for a while ago. They used to criticize blacks. She said, they used to criticize blacks for having single parent households. They call them broken homes. And they call them broken homes. When I was a kid, they'd say broken homes. Then divorce started picking up, and the whites were getting divorced just like the blacks were. Or the whites were having single parent households, broken homes, just like the blacks were. The father needs to be there. The father needs to be there for the wife. The father needs to be there for the children, and the father needs to pay. And it really doesn't matter. I mean, it can't really be, you know, that you're starting a business, or that you're running a business, and you have children. I mean, there might be some exceptions, but generally you can't do that because the children come before the business. And what many men do is they put the business before the children. They're either high-powered, you know, manager person, or they started their own business or whatever. You have to be there for the children, not just financially. Because a man will say, well, I have to be there for my family financially. That's a big part of it. But that's not the only part of it. There must be a mother and a father, a husband and a wife, and your first responsibility is to your wife, and then to your children, for the marriage to work. But this idea that a man's working late all the time, 60 hours a week, and he has children, is not good. You know, and if that's the situation, I would say, you know, unless you're spending a significant time with your children while you're doing that, you need, and probably have a stay-at-home mom, you need to get another job, because your relationship with Christ comes before everything else. God will lift you up. The Bible says God will lift you up in due time. I don't have the money to be married. I don't have the money to have children. My social worker said, well, you can just get on disability. You just have your whole family get on disability, or you can have the woman work and you stay at home. No, that's not how it works. That's insulting to men. It's bad enough that I'm on disability. I mean, I appreciate my benefits, but I want to work. And I'm doing what I can to prepare for mission work. But once again, as a missionary, my family comes before, and raising up in the way the Bible says, fathers, doesn't say mothers, it says fathers, raise your children up in the way they should go. Something like that. Raise your children up. So, I mean, what I want to say is, the father can't be absent and the mother can't be absent. Abortion is off the table. Abortion is off the table. No matter what. God knows the future. He doesn't need you to say, well, the woman could die, or she says I could die if I have this baby. Well, your baby's definitely going to die if you have an abortion. And it's successful, if you call that successful. The mother and the father are required for a family. If you're a businessman and you don't have children, your wife still needs you. And if you're a businesswoman, which is fine, you're not supposed to have authority over a man, but if you're a businesswoman, fine. But your husband needs you. Not only just to clean, just like the husband is not only needed to provide money, and the wife is not only needed to clean or cook or whatever, or however that works out, but for each other. Because love is what we're supposed to be doing as Christians. And when we get married, I'm not sure how the responsibilities work out. It's fine for a man to cook. It's fine for a man to cook. It's fine for a man to clean. But the Bible says a woman must be busy at home. All right. That's my take. And that's God's take, I think.